If you want to live a life you love, knowing your values is a good place to start. If you don't know your values or you don't follow them, you could feel incomplete, like something's missing or that you've lost your identity. When I became a mom, my identity shifted to solely being a mom. Everything I did was to contribute to that purpose. And later, I'll explain how I fell into a depression because of it. Not because of being a mom, but because of the mindset I had. And maybe it's just me, but no one has ever really explained what it meant or what it means to have values. It was just sort of implied. You either learn to value certain things based on experience, good or bad, from observing the actions or behaviors of others, or growing up to hold the same values your parents instill in you. So maybe, like me, you've never even thought about it. If you're in the same boat and you've never thought about your values, how are you supposed to learn to live by them? That's what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be exactly what the title says, a gentle guide to discovering and living your values. And we're going to talk about how and why it changes everything. Before we dive too deep, I just want to ask in the sweetest of ways that you pause this episode and leave me a 5-star review. I would love to hear about your favorite episode so far and what you'd like to hear on the podcast in the future. Now, according to Google, values are beliefs that are important to a person and guide their actions and decisions. Things like honesty, compassion, family, those are common values. And when you really think about it, it's like following your heart, the things you truly care about to your core. When you don't know your values, you can feel lost, aimless, or unfulfilled. You're more likely to get sucked into the beliefs of others, even if you know in your heart that it isn't right. And that makes you feel inauthentic. And just because you don't have the same values as someone else doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or with them. We're all different people. Some things are more important to me than they are to you, and that's okay. But if you live by someone else's values, it'll bring stress and overwhelm and sometimes even depression. For a long time, I had no idea what I really valued because I never really thought deeply about this question until last year. And I just turned 34. I was just too busy trying to survive, trying to make it to the next year, to not drown in stress. But because I was so focused on surviving, I lost sight of who I was. I prioritized the wrong things. I got sucked into hustle culture. I neglected my household and family duties because I was too consumed with earning an income from home. I grew up with parents who weren't present, so I learned to be independent and a bit stubborn. And then I became a single mom, so making money was the most important thing other than raising a child. So because of this, though, I started valuing hard work and independence and money. These aren't horrible values, especially if you're in that season of life, but I held on to them for a long time, even after getting married and having another child. I felt that if I was dependent on someone, that meant I was weak. If I couldn't make my own money, then I was taking advantage of my husband's income. And obviously this is silly because when you're married, you're a team. I just never wanted to disappoint him. And he never ever made me feel that way. It was just me. And I just wanted to feel like I was contributing. But because of all that, my work became an obsession or an idol, if you want to call it that. And it caused unnecessary stress, anxiety, dread, and eventually depression. I put all of my energy into my business, and the rest, or lack thereof, went to my family. Sounds pretty backwards, right? So all that to say values can change over time, and that's why it's so important to reevaluate them every few years. And this also ties into your identity. Now, because I knew my priorities were all wrong, I felt like I completely lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't understand why everything felt so hard all the time, why I felt like I was failing in every area of my life. And this led to complete burnout and major internal depression. And by that, I mean I showed up on the outside with a smile on my face, But inside, I was miserable. I was lost. I was lonely. I would cry every night after my husband and kids went to bed. It wasn't until my husband woke up one night to me crying that I realized I needed to figure out what was going on. If you are a mom, you may have experienced a loss of identity too. Maybe you're in the thick of it right now and you don't even realize it. After having kids, we identify as mom, and that's it. Everything we do for our little humans. But you are not just a mom. You are a person with wants and desires and dreams of your own. We get sucked up in doing everything for everyone else in our lives instead of focusing on ourselves. Just because you're a mom, it doesn't mean you have to quit your dream job or stop working towards that dream goal. Yeah, maybe you have to make some adjustments or things may look a little different, but it's possible. And before you say it or think it, focusing on you and your dreams is not selfish. When you are too busy focusing on others, you weigh yourself down. You become stressed, resentful, irritable, angry, sad, depressed. But when you focus on yourself, on your mental health, you are more willing to help others with all the love and the joy in your heart, not just a fake smile. So which one would you prefer? Okay, so let's do some internal work. The first step to understanding your values and learning to live by them is to do some journaling and self-reflection. So that's going to be your homework today. Grab your notebook and write down each of these questions. Number 1, what's important to me? Number 2, when do I feel the most alive? Number 3, how do I want to be remembered? Number 4, what do I wish I had more time for? If you want to be held accountable, pause this episode right now and answer those questions. Don't let the episode end and then say, yeah, I'll do that later. Nope, do it right now, unless you're driving, of course. If you're driving, give each of these questions some thought and remember to come back and write them down later. After you've figured out what you truly value, all you have to do is start living by them. Easy, right? But I'll use myself as an example to show you how I reevaluated my values, my priorities, and started incorporating them in my life. After doing my own journaling and self-reflecting, I reframed my mind and my priorities to these values. These values give me purpose and direction, and it makes it real easy to make decisions or set certain boundaries. So my values are 1, my mental and spiritual health, 2, my family, 3, curiosity and creativity, 4, perseverance, and 5, continuously working towards God's will for my life, which is helping others feel empowered to regain control of their mental health. I am passionate about each of these things, and by prioritizing them, I know I will live an exciting, fulfilling, and more stress-free life. So, we'll start with mental and spiritual health. I read my Bible every morning. On the best days, it's before my kids wake up, so I have that time to myself. And that always starts me off feeling grounded and ready to have a good day. As far as my mental health goes, I do a lot to make sure I'm mentally sound because of the anxiety that has plagued me in the past. I never want to feel like that again. So a lot of these are mindset shifts that I've made over the past year. So it's not something where I snapped my fingers and my thoughts changed. These are things I developed with constant reminders and repetition. So first, I give myself a day off if I need it, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed or down that day, I just have a crochet day. I also read every day. I practice being present in the moment every day. I do a guided meditation a few times a week. I practice deep breathing pretty much the entire day, just here and there, every day. And I go exercise or go on walks as often as I can. I try to every day, but man, it has been HOT hot lately. Moving on to family. Before I told you when my priorities were all out of whack, it was like work was the only thing that was on my mind, and I pretty much neglected everything else. I was just so consumed. And so one way I prioritize my family is by having a work-life balance. I do everything for my family first. As soon as I wake up in the morning, it's them I am living for. I only work in the afternoons when my older kids are busy and my baby is taking a nap. So that is mostly the only time that I do work, unless it's after dinner and the kids are just hanging out, or after they go to bed, like things like that. That is when I get my work done. Now, I'm not saying that it's not okay to work when the kids are awake or whatever. It's just that with our daily routines, this is just how it works for us. And so, yeah, I just make sure I think about my family and their needs before I worry about anything work related. And the second thing I did was we started homeschooling. So even though I knew it would be hard to work from home and homeschool, that's what I decided to do because it's what my 11-year-old really needed. My son was really struggling in school, and I knew that if he continued, he just wouldn't do well. Things were not going to be good for him academically or mentally. He was just going down a path where he was getting bullied, and he has ADHD, so like he wasn't able to focus in class. So homeschooling, I just knew that that was the best thing for our family. And so that's what we chose to do. So we do homeschool in the morning, and I do my household chores and things in the morning, and then I work for a couple hours in the afternoon. So I really only think about work during my work hours or when I'm sleeping, because for some reason I'm always woken up by lots of fun ideas. I don't know. I'm crazy, I guess. Now, curiosity and perseverance are kind of one and the same for me. I come at every problem with the mindset of, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Whenever you ask, like, why me? It puts you in a negative path. Like you're going down that path filled with negativity and complaining. And sometimes it's fine to have those thoughts as long as you can snap back and say, what can I learn from this? And although I do fail and I get angry and I feel overwhelmed a lot, I just don't let it keep me down. I always remind myself to rise back up. And you can absolutely do this too. All you have to do is give yourself a little pep talk. And for creativity, I always make sure I add some sort of creativity throughout my day, whether that's coloring with my kids, doing arts and crafts projects, getting a little bit of crochet in, even if it's just 15 minutes. Or it'll just be the current book I'm reading, which I am almost constantly listening to an audiobook. So that's my little daily dose of creativity. And lastly, to wrap things up, helping others regain control of their mental health. That is my God-given purpose, and I'm working every day to make that happen, which is why I've finally been able to commit to this podcast, and I really, really, really hope that you have loved each episode and that it encourages you to listen to yourself, to trust yourself, to know that you are the one who is in control of your mind, and I pray that you are feeling empowered and seeing a positive difference in the way you see yourself. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I pray that today's episode helped you understand that values are not set in stone. They grow with you and they change depending on what season of life you're in. I hope you take the time to journal about what values are important to you and that you start finding ways to live by them, adding or subtracting things you need in order to live a more joyous life. So I hope hearing my values and how I've kind of moved things around in my life to reprioritize them, I hope that helps you see how you can do the same thing in your own life. It's going to take some trial and error, but you got this. Living by your values is important because it provides purpose, direction, it leads to better decision making, stronger self-esteem, and more authentic relationships, both with other people and with yourself. And I hope this episode helped you understand yours a little bit more. But before you go, if this episode resonated with you, I would so appreciate if you took 30 seconds to leave me a 5-star review. Your review helps other overwhelmed mamas find this podcast, and hopefully we can find them some relief too. That's all for now. Talk soon.